Welcome back to another episode of With a Grain of Salt. I am your host, Isaiah Salter, and I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in for yet another week. Man, did I miss y'all. I know it's been 3-4 weeks since we last posted. I've been away on a retreat in Canada that I can't really get too much into because of what it was, but it was a very wild experience. And you guys will know soon enough where I was at and what I was doing. But yeah, so that's where I was. And then I got back home this week and I've just kind of been getting back into the swing of things, just kind of taking some time for me and, just getting back into my rhythm, right? Because as you guys know, having your social rhythm, having the thing that keeps you grounded, that routine is so important. And for me, that's really one of the main things that helps me to kind of stay aligned and stay on the right track. And so rather than trying to rush back into doing content, rush back into posting or doing the podcast, I really wanted to take a few days to just sit with myself, get clear, and ground myself so that we can get back into it. I know that it is Friday when you guys are hearing this. I am still going to be releasing episodes on Monday, but I'm kind of just going with the flow as well. Like, I still have the structure of I'm going to release on Monday, but I'm also going to shoot different episodes throughout the week and post whenever I feel like it, because that's just kind of what I'm feeling like in the season that I'm in. So yeah, everything's going well. That's kind of where I've been the last couple of weeks. I hope each and every one of you is doing amazing. And this episode is going to be on detachment and alignment, right? Because of the experience I just went through, it really affirmed in my life the importance of detachment and why detachment is a prerequisite for alignment. For you to be the best version of yourself, for you to really step into the things that are for you. Detachment is so important. And I think a lot of people have the wrong perception and understanding of what detachment is. So we're going to get a little bit into it. And just from the energy side of things and understanding that, in your life, you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are being internally, right? And so we're going to get into it. Point number one. Like we just said, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. It says your energy is the real magnet. You don't just pull in what you desire, you pull in what vibrates at the same frequency as you. This right here is incredibly profound. A lot of us have desires. A lot of us has wants. A lot of us has wishes and different things that we want to attain in our life. But at the end of the day, you don't get back your wishes. You don't get back your wants. You get back what you are being vibrationally, right? The universe will attract things into your life based off of your inner state of being, which is comprised of your emotional state, your mental state, which give off a vibration, which turns into a frequency, and that frequency attracts things that are aligned with it back into your life, right? That's why you can work so hard for something, or you can wish so much for something, and you can even take the necessary actions physically for something. But if that's not what you're aligned with internally, that's not what you're going to see in your physical reality. And it can create so much frustration on our journeys I feel like I'm doing the right things, right? I feel like I'm, constantly like focusing on what I want. But internally, are you aligned with that thing, energetically, right? And so we're going to get a little bit into that today and talk about, some things that can help us to be more aware and conscious of what's actually going on, when it comes to attracting things into our life, when it comes to detachment and alignment. It says, when you want something from a place of lack or need, your energy contracts and lowers in frequency. This creates resistance because the universe doesn't respond to neediness. It responds to vibrational resonance. The universe does not respond to neediness. It responds to vibrational resonance. So whatever you are vibrationally in congruence with, that is what you are going to pull into your reality in the form of people, places, situations, environments, opportunities, whatever it may be. You're going to bring things into your life that affirm what you are being internally, right? That is why it's so important to focus on your emotional state, on your mental state. What thoughts am I constantly thinking? How am I constantly feeling? And how is that internal state of being affecting how I'm acting on an everyday basis? Because all three of those things is your personality. Your personality is comprised of your thoughts, emotions, and your actions or your behaviors, right? And that is what creates your personal reality. Your personality, your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors and actions creates your personal reality, right? So what you're seeing, what you're experiencing, the life that you are living on an everyday basis. And that's why it's so important to bring awareness into your life and then to start moving intentionally in a direction that aligns with the desired reality that you want to start living, and not just allowing things to just happen and you to move through life so unconsciously, right? We're going to take our power back. We are going to take our power back with awareness and intention and understanding. It says your energy is a constant broadcast. It's a constant broadcast. If you want different results, start by changing how you feel and show up energetically, not just what you do or think about, right? Understand that your energy is everything. Everything in the known universe is energy, right? So whatever you are being energetically, that is what you are going to pull in to your physical reality. That is why it's so important to really focus on how am I feeling every single day? What emotions, which are energy emotion, what emotions am I allowing to drive my vehicle on a constant basis, right? And how can I start to make the necessary shifts to move into an emotional state that really is in congruence with where I'm trying to go? How can I start to show up differently, energetically, so that I can start to experience things from a different lens in a different place, right? It says your vibe introduces you before you speak. How many times does somebody walk into the room and they haven't said anything, but you just feel something because of their energy, right? Your vibe, like when people say, I don't vibe with that thing, or I don't vibe with that person, or I really have a good vibe with this person, right? We've kind of just got caught up in using that as language in our society, but it's an actual thing. Like everybody is giving off a different vibration. Some people you're going to vibe with, some people you are not going to vibe with, right? And it may not be what they say or what they do. It's just kind of how you feel when you're around them, right? And you need to listen to that. A lot of times, because from the outside looking in, you know, this person isn't really doing anything wrong, or it's not like they're tripping or anything, but you just feel off when you're around them. Listen to that. You don't always need to have, you know, tangible reasons on why you don't want to be around somebody. If you're around somebody and you genuinely just don't feel like you're the best version of yourself, or you don't feel good, or it doesn't feel aligned, that's all you need, because energy don't lie. Come on. You know, a practice you can do is ask yourself daily, does my energy feel like what I want to attract? Use breath and movement to adjust if needed, right? This is why meditation is so important. Meditation gives you the space and the stillness to become aware of your emotional state. And it gives you the space and the stillness to start focusing on the emotions and the energy that you do want to feel, right? And slowly, through showing up for yourself day after day, moment after moment, you're going to slowly start to shift into an emotional state that is in congruence, in alignment with the reality that you want to attract into your life, or with the type of person that you want to attract into your life, with the type of opportunities that you want to attract into your life, right? Point number 2, detachment elevates your frequency, right? Before we even get into this, from a personal standpoint, detachment, especially in the last couple of months, has been incredibly profound in my life, because you have to understand this. Every state that you are in is giving off a certain vibration, right? Or a certain signal out into the universe, right? Every state of being is giving off a certain signal into the universe, right? The signal that detachment gives off is that you are already whole. You are already enough. You already are in the state of abundance and having the thing that you're desiring, right? So what you're signaling out is that you are already whole. And so what you're going to get back are things that affirm that state of being. So you're going to get opportunities and people and circumstances and, you know, experiences that affirm that wholeness, because you are detached. You're not going to be attached to something when you are already whole internally. Attachment comes from ego and us placing our identity, placing our wholeness, placing our value on the opposite end of an outcome, on the opposite end of a relationship, on the opposite end of an experience, right? And so we will not feel whole until we get that thing, right? And that's what creates the attachment, right? But the thing about attachment is when you are in a state of attachment, that means you are operating from a place of lack, from a place of not having, from a place of not being whole. So even though it may seem, because your ego can deceive you, even though it may seem like you're clinging on and you're moving in that direction to try to get that thing, and that's where the safety is coming from, what you're actually signaling out into the universe is an energy that's actually pushing the thing that you want further away, right? Because you're not going to get back what you want. The attachment, the deception of attachment will make you think that, oh, if I focus more on it, then I'll get it, right? False. What is the energy that you are embodying? Because if you are embodying lack, scarcity, not having, that is what you are going to get back in the form of people, places, opportunities, experiences, and events that affirm that lack, right? And it's going to be so confusing because you're going to be like, I've been focusing so hard on getting this. Why didn't it work out? Because you're not in the right state of being. Your energy is so important, right? Your energy is so important. It says attachment creates tension because it says, I need this to feel complete. Detachment is the energetic release that says, I trust that I'm already whole and what's mine will come in time. Come on. I trust that I am already whole and what's mine will come in the right time. Say that mantra out loud. Say that affirmation to yourself as many times as you need it to affirm that. What's yours will be. What's not, you set free. Come on. A lot of times because we're rooted in attachment, we cling on to things that are no longer serving us, that are no longer meant to be in our journey, in our path, right? And that's where so much inner frustration comes from. Imagine constantly holding on to things that are not meant for you anymore or are not aligned with you anymore, and you're still holding on to them. That's not going to bring you peace. That is going to bring you stress, frustration, inner tension, right? So be very mindful of that. Be very, very mindful of that, right? It says when you cling too tightly to outcomes, your energy becomes heavy and resistant. The resistance blocks flow and delays what you actually want, right? A lot of times we're the thing standing in between us and what we actually want to attract into our life, the desires that we want, right? We're the thing. We're causing so much resistance. We're actually blocking the flow, right? Because there is a flow of energy that is constantly happening. And a lot of times when we attach ourselves to certain things, people, outcomes, whatever it may be, our energy becomes very heavy, right? And it creates a lot of resistance. And that resistance creates a blockage that literally blocks out certain things from coming in, right? And because we're not aware of that, we get so frustrated. We can start to get resentful, right? We can start to get really angry at life, thinking that, oh, I'm just not blessed. Why are things like this always happening to me? Why do things never go my way? Right? And you're looking for all of these things externally, or you're looking at all of these things externally as the problem without realizing that it's really you standing in the way of you. How much of the journey is just getting out of your own way, right? So often, the thing standing between us and the best version of ourselves, us and that opportunity, us in alignment, is us. It's that internal resistance from the attachment because we're not willing to let go. We think that having a closed fist is the right way to move through life, when in actuality, in order for the right things to come to you, you need to learn how to open up. You have to learn how to let things come in, but also gracefully let things go. It is a flow, right? It is a flow. Some people are going to come into your life for seasons, and when it's the time that relationship comes to an end, you need to be willing to let that thing go and step away gracefully. A lot of times certain things come in and we are so quick to attach ourselves, attach a part of our identity to these things, and that's why we're not willing to let them go, right? That's why you're not willing to let them go. Oh, this is huge. It says letting go of how and when things must happen lifts your frequency by opening space for unexpected, better aligned manifestations. When you let go of the how, when you let go of the when, what you're actually doing is you're opening up space for life to surprise you in beautiful ways. You're opening up space for possibility. A lot of times we don't actually live life to the fullest, and we don't get to experience all different types of possibilities because we're clinging to how we want things to happen and when we want things to happen and exactly how we want it to look like. Right? You need to learn how to, yes, have a vision, have goals, but open yourself up for the space. Open yourself up to have the space for possibility and surprise, right? You have no idea what's around that corner. But if you're so tightly clinged to how you want things to go, you're blocking yourself off from seeing the beautiful opportunities and possibilities that could be, right? But a lot of times we have this deception that letting go means you're going to be lost, or you're going to lose something, or you're not going to get what you want. False. When you let go, you actually gain everything that is for you. And that's a beautiful truth to understand. That is a beautiful truth to understand. It says detachment doesn't mean giving up on your desires. It means holding them lightly while staying rooted in trust and presence, right? I have this desire, right? But I'm going to keep my hand open and I'm not going to grip it so tightly, right? Because although this may be a desire of mine, it can come in a multitude of different ways and it can look very different than what's in my head. And I need to be open enough to allow God to surprise me and bring different possibilities into my life. That's how you really have the full experience of this life. If you knew how everything was going to go, if everything went the way you wanted it to go, where is the fun in the journey? Where is the fun in the journey? There is so much beauty in having to trust, in having to let go, and then watching how God works. There's so much beauty in that. There's so much beauty in going to a show for the first time that you've never seen and watching how it surprises you, right? And experiencing new things. There's so much beauty in that, right? It says, let go of the need. The having is already on its way. Detachment. Remember, when you're in a state of detachment, you're signaling out into the universe that you are already whole, that you already have the thing that you're desiring. So what are you going to get back? You are going to get back things that affirm that wholeness. But when you are in a state of attachment, you are operating from a place of lack, from a place of scarcity. So although you may think that you are focusing on getting what you want and that that's going to help get what you want, in reality, you're only going to attract and get back experiences, people, events, and situations that affirm that lack and scarcity. And it's going to be very confusing because you're not going to know why these things keep getting attracted into your life. And usually because we're so rooted in our ego, we're constantly looking at the external world as the problem, when in reality, the external is just a mirror of the internal, right? So if there's things externally that you really don't like, if there's things externally that you keep attracting into your life, you're like, why does this keep happening? Don't keep looking for the answers externally. Look within. Find the root cause of that energetically, emotionally, right? See where that's coming from. See what your emotional state and your mental state is. See why you keep attracting these type of things from the energy that you're holding within. And then go down the path of slowly shifting, right? Point number 3, it says alignment is an internal frequency, not an external achievement. Alignment is an internal frequency, not an external achievement. A lot of people base alignment off of what they are getting in their external reality. Alignment is not about what you achieve, what you attain, what you can get, what you can buy, where you can go. Alignment is about how are you feeling on an everyday basis. Things externally are not always going to be great, but that does not mean you still can't be aligned internally. But a lot of times, because we grow up and we get brought up in this society, this egotistical society, we're constantly just focusing on the external. We don't even pay attention to the internal world. We don't even pay attention to what's within. We don't even pay attention to the energy that we're cultivating. We're just looking at the external world as the problem and the solution, as the cause and the effect. It's a very dangerous game. And that's why there's so much stress, anxiety, depression, frustration, right? Emotional suppression in our world. It says alignment starts inside. It's an energetic harmony you feel regardless of what your external world looks like. Outer reality simply reflects your internal state. Outer reality simply reflects your inner state. Come on. It says many mistake alignment for having the right job, the right partner, having enough money. True alignment is feeling peace and coherence within no matter the circumstance, right? This is what Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about. He says change is to become greater than your outer environment. So many people have a struggle changing because because in our society, we allow our outer environment to dictate how we feel, how we think, and how we act. So what you are literally doing is you are giving your creative power, because your personality creates your personal reality, and your personality is comprised of what you think, how you feel, and how you act, right? And those 3 things literally create your physical reality. So if you are allowing your external world, your external environment, the people around you to dictate how you think, how you feel, and what you do, you are literally giving your creative agency to the things outside of you. That is a recipe for unhappiness. That is a recipe for internal suffering. That is a recipe for misery. That is a recipe to end up in places that you genuinely don't want to be in. That is a recipe to feel a certain way that you genuinely don't want to feel, right? But we're not going to cultivate the awareness of this and the understanding of this from a place of hate and shame and guilt. We're going to cultivate it from a place of compassion and empathy for ourselves, because a lot of us, we didn't get taught this growing up. But now that you know better, choose better. And now that you know better, choose better. And choosing better is not about being perfect. It's not about always choosing the right thing. It's about having a certain level of awareness and intention in your life to start taking steps towards becoming the best version of yourself, to start taking steps towards the vision that you have deep within you, that you just haven't given time to because you've been giving all of your energy to things of the external world, to the people around you, right? To societal expectations. We're done doing that. Together, we're done doing that. We are done doing that because we got to start living for us. We were not put here to live for everybody else. We were not put here to be a slave within our own body. We were not put here to be a victim to our circumstances. We were put here to be all of who we were made to be, to reach the highest level of awareness and consciousness that is possible for our individual journey. Come on. It says, if you focus only on changing your environment without shifting your energy, you'll keep running into the same blocks. Your inner shift must come first. A lot of people just focus on changing their environment. And listen, if you have the luxury of being able to change your environment and you're in a toxic environment, do that, right? But also do the inner work. Also do the inner work. But a lot of people don't have the luxury of changing their environment. A lot of people, they're in a toxic household with their family, or they're stuck in a job because of certain things that they have to do, whatever it may be. How can we get beyond our environment? How can we start to shift internally and not allow our external environment to dictate how we feel, how we think, and how we act? Come on. And it starts with awareness and intention. The inner shift must come first. And you have to remember, when you shift internally, there will be a shift externally. It's nature. It's going to happen. It has to happen. 100% of the time. When you shift internally, there will be a shift externally. I can't tell you when, I can't tell you how, but there will be, right? But the shift internally usually comes first. There's a quote that says, match the frequency of the reality you want and you cannot help but get it. When you match the frequency and the energy of the vision that you have and you become that in this moment, rather than feeling like you have to chase after something, what you're going to start doing is attracting things that are aligned with that vision, that are aligned with that desired reality, because you have become that desired reality internally. You are operating from a place of already being at the vision of the thing that you want to attain externally, already being in there, and you're being that in the moment. Because remember, all that you have is the present moment. So rather than feeling like you have to wait for something to happen externally, rather than feeling like you have to wait for something to happen in your future, how can we learn how to bring that future to this moment energetically? It's an internal thing. No, you can't magically just plop a car that you want in your driveway, but you can sit in meditation and visualize and feel what it would feel like if you had that car in your driveway. And if you every day show up and you start to become that emotionally and energetically, what you're going to start doing is you're going to start radiating a frequency that is aligned with somebody who has that car, and you're going to start attracting situations, opportunities, and things into your life that are in congruence with that energy that you have cultivated internally. And you didn't have to go anywhere to do that. That was an internal thing. You didn't have to wait to get the car to feel that way. You could feel that way first and then attract things that are aligned with somebody who already has the car. Oh, I hope that's making sense. This is deep. This is deep. A practice. Visualize and feel your aligned life every morning, focusing on the emotional energy rather than external details. A lot of people wake up, and because they don't have something externally, they feel bad. How can we wake up, visualize, and feel what it would feel like to be living in that desired reality now, and then start moving through our life that way and attracting things into our life based off of that frequency, and not the frequency of lack, not the frequency of not having, not the frequency of not having enough and not being enough. No, because you don't get back in life what you want, you get back in life what you are being. You don't get back in life what you want, you get back in life what you are being. Come on. Point number 4. Energetic boundaries are sacred to your alignment. Energetic boundaries are sacred to your alignment. Your energy is your most valuable resource. Protecting it by setting boundaries is essential to maintaining high vibration and clear focus. In order for you to stay in a state of alignment, you must be willing to set boundaries, especially emotionally and energetically. Your energy is the most valuable resource you have. If you do not set boundaries, if you do not protect your peace, if you do not protect your energy, then all of these things externally will just constantly pick at you and take from you, right? And deplete you. You have to put up those boundaries. And sometimes people are not going to like the boundaries you put up, right? But like I said, you weren't put here to be liked by everybody. You were put here to be yourself, and being yourself is going to require you to set boundaries, even if that means disappointing other people, even if that means not getting the approval or validation of others. That's a price you have to be willing to pay for your peace, for your authenticity, right? For your frequency. It says consuming toxic media, constantly indulging in draining conversations, or being a people pleaser can siphon your energy and lower your frequency. That is a fact. Because you got to think all of these things, right? In our society, something is either life-giving or life-taking. Energy expanding or energy contracting. If you're constantly giving your attention to things that are depleting your energy, you're not going to have any energy to give to things that expand you and align with you and uplift you, right? You have to choose. You can't do both. Either you're giving most of your energy and attention to things that take from you, or you're giving it to things that serve you and uplift you, right? And align with where you're trying to go and who you're trying to be, right? But you have to be able to be, this is why intention is so important. You have to be intentional with who you're around, intentional with what you watch, intentional with what you consume, with what you listen to, with what you eat, with who you spend time with, the conversations that you have, with what you say, intentional with what you think, intentional with how you feel. You have to be intentional with all this, right? Remember, intention creates the path. Awareness helps you stay on it. It says saying no to anything that doesn't uplift you or align with you creates energetic space for growth and attraction. A lot of the times we don't attract the right things into our life because we don't have any space to attract, because we're constantly saying yes to things that do not align, to things that do not uplift us, to people that we really don't even want to be around, right? To things that we really don't even want to do. So you have to start taking your power back. And how do you start taking your power back? By taking your energy back. And how do you start taking your energy back? By focusing your attention, because where your attention goes, energy follows, by focusing your attention on more things that are life-giving, that are aligned, than the things that aren't, than the people that aren't, right? Intention. Setting boundaries is an act of self-love and self-respect. Setting boundaries is an act of self-love and self-respect. It helps you preserve your clarity and helps you stay aligned with your true frequency, with your true essence, right? Remember that, right? Don't fall into the trap of thinking that setting boundaries is selfish from an egotistical way. No, it's not. It's essential for the betterment of you. And what's essential for the healthy relationships and for you to show up in the right way is for you to do things that better you, right? It's all in congruence. It's all in congruence. Point number 5, it says, stillness is where energetic alignment is tuned. Stillness is where energetic alignment is tuned. Stillness isn't doing nothing. It's connecting deeply to your core frequency. It's in silence that your true vibration emerges and strengthens. Very true. It's in silence. Silence gives you the space to allow what's happening internally to surface so that you become aware of it, right? So you can see the things that you want to keep and the things that you need to let go of or shift, right? Stillness is incredibly important. A lot of us don't have clarity in life. A lot of us aren't at peace internally because we're constantly moving, literally and emotionally. We're constantly moving, constantly doing stuff, constantly consuming something, constantly focusing our energy on all these things externally, or a person or a thing, whatever it may be. When are you ever cultivating stillness just to listen and hear your thoughts and feel your emotions and analyze what's going on? If you do not cultivate stillness, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to move with clarity on your path. Constant activity without inner connection leads to scattered energy and burnout. It says stillness reconnects you with your intuitive guidance and your inner power, which is essential for true alignment, right? Your intuitive guidance and your inner power, right? We all have intuition, but a lot of times we're not in tune with our intuition because we don't cultivate stillness in our life. Stillness helps you to reconnect with your intuitive guidance, with your inner power, right? And those things are essential for true alignment, because if you are not connected to your intuition, if you're not connected to your inner power, if you're not connected to yourself, to source, to the divine within, how are you ever going to know what is for you and what isn't? How are you ever going to step into a state of alignment, right? Because alignment, you have to think of it, alignment. Alignment means things are in congruence. Things are aligned. If you're not cultivating stillness and creating space for things to align, things are always going to feel scattered and all over the place, right? And that's how we're trying to, and that's what we make decisions out of. And then we wonder why we end up in places that we don't want to be in, or end up in relationships that really don't serve us, or end up in environments that make us feel contracted. It says stillness is the space where the soul recalibrates. Stillness is the space where the soul recalibrates. In order to upgrade your phone, you have to be willing to be off it for a little bit. In order to recalibrate your soul, you have to be willing to be still for a little bit. Come on. You can't upgrade your phone software and still use it at the same time, right? You have to be willing to stop consuming, stop using, and allow your phone to upgrade in order to get that new software. And it's the same in your life. In order to get the clarity that you're really searching for, you can't be moving, running around, doing all these things all the time. You have to be able and be willing to carve out stillness and pause and just be for a little bit. And a lot of times in the being, the clarity arises. The answers arise. The intuitive guidance arises, right? It says spend 5 to 10 minutes a day in silent presence, simply sensing your energy without trying to change it, right? Use meditation, right? 5 to 10 minutes a day and just sit, just be, just become aware. You don't need to change anything. You don't need to fight anything. You don't need to adjust. Just sit and become aware, because awareness is the first step to change. You cannot shift. You cannot change unless you are aware of the thing. So you'll never be able to shift your emotional state. You'll never be able to shift how you're thinking if you never carve out stillness and become aware of what's going on internally, right? This is so important, y'all. This is so important. And point number 6, the last point. It says your frequency is the strategy. I love this. The universe responds first and foremost to your vibration. Strategy without aligned energy is trying to start a fire with wet wood. It says efforts without energetic alignment often feel exhausting and unproductive because they push against resistance, right? It's not just about action. It's about aligned action, right? And what does that mean? That means efforts with the right energetic alignment behind them, with the right energy behind them, right? A lot of people do the right things, but they're not rooted in the right energy, right? And they work in congruence. It's the action plus the intention, right? You can't just, it's the same with, I was a former basketball player in college, right? So everybody knows, right? In basketball or in any sport, you want to put work in, right? You want to get extra reps in, right? But any athlete can attest to this. When you go to the gym without a plan, without structure, you end up just being in there doing really nothing, right? And so from an action standpoint, yeah, you did the right thing. You went to the gym. You got some shots up, right? But without the right intention there, without the structure of the workout, you're not really getting the most out of it. And it's the same in our life. Don't just focus on taking the right actions. Focus on feeling the right emotions and having those behind the actions, right? Because that matters so much. Your frequency is the strategy, right? Like the workout plan is the strategy when you go to the gym. Your frequency is the strategy when you start putting in the right actions that are aligned with the person that you're trying to become, right? When your energy matches your goals, opportunities and people flow naturally to you with ease. It should not feel forced. It shouldn't feel like a fight every single day. It should feel like a peaceful, patient pursuit. The 3 P's: peaceful, patient pursuit, right? It shouldn't feel like a rigid chase. It should feel like a peaceful, patient pursuit. It says manifestation isn't about doing more. It's about being in resonance with more. A lot of people, right? A lot of people, and I know there's a lot of mixed things on manifestation. Some people believe in it, some people don't. At the end of the day, it's language, right? But at the core of what it is, it's science. We are all manifesting, right? We are all constantly attracting things into our life, whether we realize it or not. A lot of people are just unconsciously manifesting things into their life without realizing it. And then they're wondering why these things are happening, or these people keep coming into their life, or they keep getting caught up in these situations or relationships, right? Remember, manifestation comes down to one simple quote: you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. So it's not about doing more. It's not about getting more. It's about being in resonance with the aligned, desired reality. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. A practice, it says, before taking action, sit quietly and embody the feeling of your goal fully. Then move from that space. That's what's called aligned action. I'm going to feel what it would feel like internally to be living as the person that I want to become, and then I'm going to take actions from that place. Come on, man. Come on, man. And so, the closing thought. You are a living frequency. What you attract reflects your energetic state. Detachment clears the way. Alignment lights the path. Remember that the universe always answers your vibration first. And that's going to do it for today's episode, man. That was a good one. I needed that. That was a good one. Come on, y'all. Focus on detachment. We are not attaching ourselves to outcomes, to timelines, right? To due dates. We are already whole, and we are going to attract things into our life from that wholeness. So, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And remember, most importantly, to take everything with a grain of salt. I will catch you guys in the next episode. Deuces.